What's up, guys? In this episode, we talk about a pro tip for client gifts. I fall asleep while Dale talks about servers, and somehow I still got promoted to chief of staff. Stay tuned.
We're here. The year is ending. Grace's mom is going
To the World Cup final 2022, Argentina versus France. She's still in Qatar. She's basically a Qatari.
Out of curiosity, who do you got for the World Cup final?
Who do I think is going to win?
Or who do you want to win?
Honestly, Argentina.
You just betrayed your mother. She'll see
I know.
this one day and she'll disown you.
I kept rooting for France. I remember like on Saturday I was working at the restaurant and that's when the French game was playing. And so anytime I went to like the kitchen, they were like playing, like putting their iPhone there and watching it there in the back hiding. And so I'd go there and hide and watch. And like, I was like really freaking out and nervous about it. And I'd be like, what's the score? You know, throughout the 2 hours. My manager was like, shut up, you're not French. Why are you so invested? And I'm like, I'm not a fan of the French team. I'm a fan of my mom. I just want her to get to stay in Qatar longer. Because as long as France is winning. Yeah, as long as France is winning, she's staying. So now that she's gotten to the final, that was the goal. I don't care if France wins or not. I just wanted her to stay as long as she wanted to. So as a Brazilian, I know I'm betraying saying I want Argentina to win, but also as a Brazilian, it's like the only, after Brazil lost, it was the only South American country. So we're like, all right, let's go Argentina. And also Messi, like give it to him.
Yeah, to me,
you know?
I'm like that too. I'm okay if the biggest rival wins because it means that we are the biggest competition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there are people that are definitely like just want to see hate and fire brought down to their enemies. And I don't blame you either. Power to you. Make them pay.
That's all.
Yes. And obviously, for those of you who are watching this on YouTube or seeing any of the clips that get posted, our producer is certainly not happy with our selection of backgrounds, but we just discovered these and they're amazing.
So cute.
And I did want to start. The reason why we feel so good about them is because synergistically, they make sense. I'm in the captain's chair, and Grace was just promoted to chief of staff, which we're still trying to figure out exactly what that means, but it seems to be the title that means you do everything else. That's what we've gathered.
I mean, it was like I was having a conversation with a very corporate person, and she was like, okay, those tasks that you do sound like chief of staff tasks, and it's basically like, I guess you do everything else, but very much relating to the people at the company.
So would chief of staff be the head of HR at some places?
No, because I think head of HR is like very specifically HR. Is it like maybe chief of staff is like managing the head of HR, the head of finance? You know, maybe it's that. I don't know. I might be wrong. But at such a small company, it's like everything.
And we had a conversation with our business coaches about stuff like this. And we're kind of all in agreement, at least us and our coaches, that these titles are kind of just made up for whatever reason.
It means nothing. Yeah.
No, they mean things, but they're just like,
oh, yeah.
It's just like people trying to find labels for people and status and whatever. So essentially what we figured was that Grace is sort of the only other person really that works on the executive side of the company outside of me. And is basically the go-to person for lots of finance and staffing questions in general, that it was appropriate to create some clarity in the hierarchy from her position to the rest of the team. And therefore, this chief of staff title came in. But who knows what that will turn into in the future. But at least I feel good about knowing the path that we're kind of on. And I do firmly believe in you, of course, and
thank you.
What we're gonna do together.
And I totally feel imposter syndrome about it, but as I'm sure anyone does, but I'm excited about it. And then Dale threw me in the ringer right away today when we were having an end of year recap with the team, and when we were preparing what we're gonna say in the recap, you know, talking about what the company did this year, what kind of projects we worked on, where we're reinvesting this year, you know, how we're going into marketing and how all the things, basically. And then when we were preparing for that, I was like, everyone should get a shout out. And then Dale's like, you know what? That's a good idea. you do it. And I was like, no. He was like, yeah, chief of staff. It's harder than it looks. It's so awkward. It's like having all eyes on you. And like, here's the thing. I did go to drama school and I did learn how to, perform in front of people. But that's one thing where the lines are given to me versus, and then it's not like real life versus this is real life. And I'm telling real people real things that have not been scripted. That was hard and awkward, especially over Zoom, especially because I don't know who's, not actually there. I don't know, I might be looking at someone and talking to them and they're actually like on Instagram, like, all that. So
I one of the things I definitely want them to add is like some sound effects for us. Cause like we definitely clapping is hard because they also have the noise remover thing. So it's not like you can really hear clapping. I'm going to try now and see how much it picks up. Yeah, we can't hear you. I can't hear you. At least with the Google Meet, it's probably getting picked up on the mic separately. But that's what I mean. It does such a good job of getting rid of noises and stuff that like we ended up taking the little hands on and we started spamming those in the chat to give people claps. And then we ended up breaking that. So we're still trying to find ways of expressing our joy. Yeah.
Zoom has emojis, but
yeah. So there's something definitely to work on in that regard. But we're still learning. Yeah, we're learning. We just figured out breakout rooms in Google Meets about a week or two ago. So what we would do is, let's just say, maybe this could be a helpful tip for anybody else who has the G Suite. We'd have like 5 people. We get into a meeting. It's an hour-long meeting. And we divvied up tasks, and then we split up. I went off with the writer, and the 2 producers went off. And you can set a timer in the breakout room. So we'd set a timer for 45 minutes. And then when that ends, it pulls us all back into the main room, and then we wrapped up the meeting.
I actually had a moment, Dale has this like technology moment sometimes where he realizes just how awesome technology is. Like, like your phone, it can hold so much in just you can't see, in just a tiny thing. And I had that moment. I woke up like yesterday in the morning and I just thought of how amazing Google is. Yeah. Of like the drive and having any file go just onto Google and you can access it from anywhere. I went like deep into it. It's really dope.
Of course, man. Like it is the best time to be alive.
Take advantage of it. Because I think I was
problems that we
on Google a lot this week, but then I was like, actually, it's really cool. So
it is a matter of expectations. That's the thing. Now your standard, right? The expectation that you have is that you have all of these things and that they all work seamlessly. But when you really think about how amazing it is that somehow we can cobble it together, literally we're like transmitting through airwaves, different frequencies that allow us to, we made another hire in Argentina. We had another interview in Argentina today too. And I'm just like, literally that was a seamless, like a lag-free real-time conversation that I'm having with somebody thousands of miles away on the planet. Yeah. And it's remarkable. So yes, life is good, man.
I was personally stressing this week. This week outside of work. First of all, the Christmas shopping. And then I don't know. I mean, all of my friends are either leaving New York or coming back to New York after their semester abroad. I have a bunch of friends who are still in school. And so they're all like, let's hang out. And I keep saying, yeah, but there's no way I'm going to hang out with everyone. I've said, it's just too many things. I was like overwhelmed with that. There's so many text messages. I know it's not that much, and then also I'm working on Sophie's film.
Just for clarity again, for those of you who don't know, Sophie was an intern here. She started with Grace at the same time and is now, back in film school working on her thesis film. And she asked Grace to be a part of it as a producer, which I thought was a great idea for her to sort of take some of the story skills that she's kind of absorbed here and try it out, in that way, which I think is always great for the future, because obviously it's what we do here, even though you're more on the business side.
Yeah, it's been cool. But anyway, we were going to do like shooting a promo video, and then she got sick, and then I freaked out.
You guys are doing like a Kickstarter?
Like a Seed and Spark.
Oh my God. I know the girls who started that company, oddly enough. Yeah.
Oh, no way.
So you guys are going to do a Seed and Spark. Nice.
Yeah, but then she got sick, so we couldn't do it. And then yesterday, I because we have our holiday party coming this Saturday, and I'm usually working on Saturdays at my restaurant, I asked to take off then for Saturday, and then they switched me in for Thursday night. And so I left here early, went to work at the restaurant. It felt like a trip. That really showed me, I learned how much like routine is a thing. I wasn't really messing up, but I just didn't feel like I was on top of my game because I was coming from such a different mindset. Like here, the pace, it's both fast-paced places, but fast-paced in a different way. Like my brain is moving fast. There, it's like my body has to be there with me, with my mind. And so it felt weird. And it was basically like a double shift, and then I got out around 10 and got home in the rain. The rainy weather doesn't help. But anyway, so yeah, it really threw me off. And then today I felt like groggy. So that was my week.
Just so you guys know, we try to actually talk less about this stuff during the week now so we could save it for here because I have no idea what's going on. I mean, it's been a blur for me too, though, right? It's been so many. This week was a big one of knocking a lot of things off the list. I would say
we set it up before. Yeah. We set it up in the first 2 weeks of December. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest thing for me is I'm definitely nervous about the holiday party just because it's like the first time everybody's coming together in person. We flew out one of our team members, put them, they're in the air now. They're going to, we put up a couple of team members in a hotel. So I just hope it all works. Everybody gets where they need to be and that they have a good time. And so that's all. This is the first time we're doing something like that. Not just a big expense, but like logistically, we had to figure a bunch out, which again, kudos to Grace for really taking charge there.
I feel like, this week I'm really seeing the fruits of my labor with all of the client gifts. I sent client gifts earlier before I went to Qatar. That all arrived this week, thank God, because there were issues when I sent them all before Qatar. That was like my mission that week. And then while I was in Qatar, I kept getting calls from them, but I didn't want to answer because I would get charged probably an international fee. And then I called back when I came back.
Calls from them as in the chocolate
From
place?
them, yeah. Oh. And they were like, well, your card was declined. And so then I had to reorder. Like, it was a whole thing. But they got it all arrived.
Side note, we should probably call Capital One and try to get more, of a credit limit because we max it out all the time.
Yeah.
But, just say, hey, I'll give you the business advice. Have one cashback card. Have one points card, for travel. And so we try to abuse the travel card as much as we can because you get more dollar value in miles. And we know at some point we're going to use it. And so, but it gets maxed out quicker than our other card, which is probably just because we've been with Bank of America longer.
Well, yeah. The clients, I didn't expect the clients to respond, but they are all like texting Dale, emailing Dale, being like, thank you. And I was like, it was me. No one will know.
They will soon enough. But basically, it's something small. We do something small, but especially during this time of year, there's so much going on, and we're working with a lot of these clients on these big projects, like in the heat of it, trying to get it all done before the new year. So I think it was probably just so welcome to them that even though we're like not only are we working our ass off for them right now, but that we also we're thoughtful enough to send them something, and we've gotten some really, really nice responses this year. And I'll say this year more than others. So you've done better than previous people who have been on the task.
But you've done it before?
Yeah, girl. I try to do what, I try to do what I'm supposed to do.
Oh, what'd you send them?
Oh, now you're asking me stuff that I don't even remember. One time, okay, we have gotten one of our clients, the same one who was excited about playing with his kids.
You got drinks, right? But he doesn't drink.
We bought him. No, that was the thing that was the fear when I realized that we were going to get everybody a bottle of wine, but instead we bought him and his wife like some really nice card for like a vegan dinner, and he loved that too. But we didn't get to do anything during the pandemic really. And then, now we were able to do something again. It's actually kind of harder than you think because you have to contact them, get their addresses, you know, and then it kind of ruins a little bit of the surprise or whatever. But I think it all worked out. And
but I asked
really
like
happy.
so long ago. I asked way back in November, and I was like, I'm gonna send it. They'll forget. And also, pro tip. I mean, this could be the life hack. Internet stalking helped a lot. I had like a few options of what to get people, like different sizes, different flavors. And I was like, I stalked and I was like, what's the vibe? Do they have kids? Will they share this with their kids? Do they not? Are they a foodie? Do they care? Do they not care? Are they any dietary restrictions? You can kind of sometimes see that on Instagram. So yeah, that was my hack.
So just
I loved
take note, bro. Do the work. That's all I'm saying. Because it does make a difference when it's a little bit more thoughtful. Also, pay attention then to how they respond, because that tells you which of the clients you really want to keep around. So the clients that really said, wow, thank you so much. We really appreciate this. Took the time to send an email, took the time to send a text back, are ones that I know really do value us and that we have a good relationship with. Whereas there are some others that either sent a one-line thank you or nothing. And we're like, all right, clearly you're like, which it's okay, but you want to know which ones really value this kind of stuff, and I think it's a good practice. So,
and I was shocked. There was like this one client we hadn't worked with for a while, and they sent a nice thank you, and I was like, oh, you appreciated that. So, it is telling. It's interesting. It
is good stuff, and it's good to let them know that we care. Obviously, that was definitely a nice personal victory this week. Anyways, so now we're on to the party. Of course, the clients are hopefully happy. We can take this into next year with us, and now we gotta hopefully throw a banger tomorrow, and make sure that our people.
Oh my God, it's tomorrow! Fun. Wait, wow, I didn't even realize. So yeah, tomorrow is the holiday party. Why am I so shocked right now? So it's escape room, Korean barbecue, and karaoke. And I want to say it on here about the escape room. I mean, our producer's going to hear this now, but I can't make it to the
best part is she's
room.
not even going. Yeah.
I know.
She booked an escape room that I'm going to hate, but she like 100% knew that. Like, I was like, God, this is like, I feel like she gets like, you get like some like double or triple point multiplier value on like knowing that I'm going to be squirming at the same time that you're going to be making a couple of the other people really happy. So, oh God.
Yeah, you got to do it for the people. Also, it really logistically was the best option, time-wise and location-wise. So, but it's an escape room. But okay, I've never been, so I really don't know how to speak on it. But I feel like my image is like you're in a room, you're trying to figure out how to get out, like escape. But this one is a baking one. So something about you're going to have to solve clues to try to bake. You do get to eat what you bake at the end if you succeed. So I think it'll be exciting. I thought of the people here, and I thought maybe that could be exciting, especially for the one flying in. So yeah, that'll be that. And then karaoke, we'll see. Not everyone was stoked about it, but a few drinks in, I think it can be fun.
Our producer hates it. It's gonna be. I can't wait. I mean,
I'm excited.
She had like a look on her face, and then I let her know straight up. I'm like 100%. We chose this because we knew that you would hate it, and I can't wait. So. It's going to be a good time. Everybody's going to be embarrassed, a little inebriated probably by then. And
Brian and I were talking about like we both like promise each other to sing a song that's not in English. We're going to
I respect that.
We'll do it.
I respect that. I have been trying to figure out like realizing like, oh no, everything I'm going to want to do, nobody's going to know. But I think I have committed.
But that's everyone, no?
Not really, bro. They're going to put like what you guys grew up with as pop. Whereas like if I do Blink-182, that's like, I don't know who's going to do Blink-182 with me, which is like really, if it was my group, it's like a classic.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, that's what I keep going back to is like, man, there's a part of me that's like, I think I'm just going to lean into my early 2000s nu metal, and y'all are going to see me scream and no one's going to scream with me. And I think we're just going to do it. So get ready for some Linkin Park. It's just going to happen. That's what I've committed to.
I'm used to it, but Yeah, they say that to everyone else.
It'll give them a taste of what it's like when I'm working out, which is like either like Porter Robinson, rudimental, or it's like, oh, Rage Against the Machine. I've committed to doing one Rage song tomorrow too.
I'm scared to hear this though, because like, I hear the music, it's mostly screaming. Like, you're just gonna be there screaming in the mic.
Kind
like,
of.
Do you
usually it's
out?
like if I'm gonna find something like a Linkin Park song that has a lot of rap in it. So I'm thinking about doing.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna have. I hope they have some shit I hope they have everything, because then I'll do High Voltage, which no one would. That's like the real Linkin Park fans know High Voltage. You know what I mean? Because it's not on one of the main albums at all. It's like from way back when they first started. So like I would do some shit like that, but that's gonna be for me. But I'm gonna find something that's more talking, and then I'm gonna do the team one is my go-to is Uptown Funk. That's like the answer. And
that'll be fun.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make, and Heather, if you're listening, if you do not do the backup vocals, you're getting fired. Like, that's the thing. Everybody has to do the backup vocals to make it work. And it's a team sport. So yeah, so that's kind of where my head is currently at. But really, I think I'm gonna do like one or two, so that people can laugh at me, and then I'm just gonna let you guys have at it and have a good time.
Okay.
We'll give you the deets next time. I'm sure someone's gonna take some video of me that I'm never going to want to resurface, and then soon enough it'll be all over the internet. But yeah, I'm sure it'll happen. Let's get into some nerdy stuff.
Servers.
That's
the nerdiest.
And branding. We are starting to have some of these meetings with different areas of the company. So I'm going to try to summarize this, and this should be hopefully good value for like anyone in our position, which is we're 2 years in. We made a little bit more money than we thought this year, which is good. We decided to reinvest it in a couple of key areas, 1 being branding, 2 being marketing. 3, 4, and 5 come because of those things, which basically my coach said, hey, we think you have a good product. We think that the branding and the marketing is going to work, which means you must be thinking about capacity in HR so that you don't bottleneck as you start to scale. Eventually, the big bottleneck we're going to have is going to be the internet. Our server can currently handle 11 workstations, all on 10 gig, and we use Parsec to remote in. And it's not really that secure, number one. And number two, it's not that scalable. At the moment, I need a 12th computer. I don't know what I'm going to do. And, we definitely don't have an offsite backup and things like that. So we met with a friend to start really nerding out about it. And I just got to say, it felt so good to just be like a total tech head and talk about things that I knew Grace had like sounded like an alien language. Shout out.
I totally logged out, checked out. And after the first 2 sentences.
Yeah.
I was so lost.
Yeah. But here's what I think is the coolest thing. And I can kind of tell you guys what our long-term plan is. And hopefully as we continue to do this podcast, you'll see it. But the long-term plan is to essentially buy property anywhere in America that is extremely secure and has extremely rock solid internet with at least multiple providers. We'll build a supercomputer as a server, and then we'll basically run a bunch of scalable, right? A bunch of virtual machines off of that and scale it up and down depending on what we need around the world, and have people Parsec or whatever service we're going to use remoting into those machines to do the work. I think it's super cool. And then of course the one, like I said, the biggest bottleneck being the internet. Well, essentially if you have a stable ground line coming in like a Fios or something like fiber optics, and then you have a backup service provider like something like a Starlink or whatever, right? Like a satellite provider in case something happens to the ground, you're kind of doubly covered. And so just like how your server will have a fail-safe to switch on to the backup server or supercomputer, we'll also have one for the internet. So now it basically covers every single possible vulnerability you can have from an infrastructure standpoint. And it's really exciting. Obviously, I can't do it now, but knowing where we need to get to for the ultimate amount of safety, reliability is exciting. And it essentially means that I actually can be international, can be fully remote, and sort of launch all these different systems out across the world, which is really exciting. So, we don't need to go crazy and invest in a crazy office early on. We can really continue to scale the manpower out and make that investment first, because that one can go on and on with or without an office. So I thought that was awesome and super nerdy. And we kind of talked about what we would do sort of scaling back in the first few years, and then how to sort of build upon it. Because the main thing is when you start to think about these more robust systems, they need management. Like we need an IT guy 24/7 running, managing, and maintaining all of these different systems, right? So that's where it's like, trying to figure out how to get that in. Meanwhile, we're just trying to also work on everybody having a good livable salary and a decent place, decent work to do. So it's a lot. But it was a good time. It was a good conversation. I can tell we already lost Grace and also probably half of our viewership with that. But for those who made it through, I'm proud of you. Shout it out in the comments. Be loud and proud. Tech is cool. You want to do branding? Here, you could talk about the fun branding side of it.
Well, we met with our branding company that's also going to do our website. The Bureau of Small Projects.
Shout
they call
out.
themselves Bureau. Yeah, shout out.
They're
Bureau. So awesome. The Bureau. Okay. I'm going to start chanting.
Yeah.
Well, literally, I mean, okay, so the first few conversations were great with them. We talked to the COO, and then he brought in the CEO. This is when we were still shopping for branding companies, and they were awesome. And so we went with them. And the first talk we have with the first meeting we had with the project manager, she was wearing a Santa hat, and she was so like jolly. And then we also met our, who is she? What is she called?
Oh, they have a fancy name, but basically she's going to be like the creative director, like the head consultant that's going to be doing all of the strategy work. She's like digging into all of what the space looks like, what the audience looks like, what the competition looks like, and really trying to build us the right kind of avatars and the right kind of language and strategies to best communicate who we are to our audience. So she's kind of doing, I think she's going to be the most high level person, and then she sends it down, to the copywriter to do writing, to the web designer to do design, but she's really building that overarching strategy. It was a good time.
I think you can talk about it more, because I was kind of just listening in and realizing basically that they are a company like us. The way they work is like us. The people there's clearly, I've only met like 3 of them, but there's clearly a culture there where everyone's like, we come from Fortune 500 companies and we didn't vibe, so we're here to be weird. We love it,
Yeah. And it's funny because I talk about us being a bunch of weirdos all the time, with like a bunch of really different personalities, and like everybody's got their quirks, and everybody's like really, out there and happy to talk about, their passion for whatever it is. And so I think we definitely connected and resonated with their culture. But, the reason, and I was telling this story earlier today, but the main reason that we went with them is I'm a mix of data and analytic. Like I'm a data-driven storyteller, which is a kind of a funny thing considering most people consider storytelling as an art form to be very emotional. But to me, it is, how do we control an emotional experience? That's essentially what we're doing to get a message across, right? And so I love that they also see it the same way, that essentially all your website is and all of your marketing strategy is just ways of communicating and taking your customer through an emotional experience to get them to the desired end result, which in our case would be, to work together as partners to tell their story, right? And to translate it as effectively as we can. And we obviously really believe in what we have and believe that it brings a tremendous amount of value to anyone who gets the pleasure to work with us. So I think it's really exciting that we kind of align on like philosophically what the point of it all is, which is it's not about me. Most people are going to go with their gut, okay? Whereas we're going to go with the data despite our gut a lot of times. I very much align with that. And I can tell you what sold me was when I spoke with their CEO, he said, I don't even like the name of our company, but it works. And they do. And that's when I was like, yep, that works for me. So we're now getting into the weeds with it. And yeah, it's interesting.
It's funny because we had the meeting with our business coaches and the bureau on the same day, like following one after the other.
On a Wednesday too, which by the way, Wednesdays are philosophical days by whatever virtue. It's always the day where I go completely off the rails into the deepest, most existential conversations ever. And this Wednesday was no different.
As like a fly on the wall, I always loved The Forge. The Forge is our business consulting, because they go so deep and they're so good. And it's kind of like, it's really satisfying for me to hear the things that, you know, like the loops that you're constantly going through, like that we're trying to find solutions to, and then hearing someone who has expertise match you and give you that answer, and then see you guys just go and work is so satisfying for me. Because when you ask me those questions, I have no expertise. I don't know what to say. And I'm always just sitting there. But, you know, when I see the problems getting solved, it's so satisfying. So yeah, watching that for, you know, like 4 hours straight I loved it.
I have to say it was quite a productive day, actually, from a decision making and like clarity standpoint of like what the near future needs to be.
Clarity, that's what it is.
Oh baby,
it gives
was
so much
good.
clarity.
And I will say we did have a 6 session at the end. So essentially what we were working on this week with our coaches was really figuring out the organizational and financial structure of what is going to be our new company, Straight Shot Studios. We're going to do all our content creation because there's going to be a lot of sweat equity involved. And so it always started, you know, what do you want at the end of it? What's the goal of the company? And that company, I want to be an employee-owned company. I want to do revenue share so that people that work on any of the IPs, whether they get bought or whatever, get a piece of that pie. That's like the long, long vision for it, because I want to turn it into Pixar. And so I want to really retain the high artistic talent that's going to get developed there. You know, it's a little bit of a different model than just like hiring the best director for projects. It'd be like, no, we're going to build directors here who can do multiple kinds of things, and keep it sort of really brand heavy, like Pixar, which I'm sure you guys are going to hear 1,000 times. But in that conversation, you know, it ended up becoming very much like a very kind of, and what I love when you reach a high level on any kind of subject matter, the speed in which the connections get made, that, you know, just the way we were jumping off, building. And then by the end, we had 2 different options that were very much workable. And I had no, like, it was from nothing to something in, you know, that 30-minute span. And I thought it felt good. It felt good to stretch that sort of mind muscle that I haven't really dealt with in a long time. And I think that when I went into the branding meeting, that one ended up becoming way more of a discovery of the fact that there are probably still some decisions that we need to make, you know, about the nature of how these 2 companies are going to work together in the future, about whether or not we're going to step into full-scale production from just doing post-production, which has a much higher ceiling. Really what it is if I could help my clients more, I would, because I know we could be solving a lot of the problems they're having in production if we got involved earlier. But the headache that usually comes with that, like if somebody told me that we could not have the headache that I know comes with it from the client side and the agencies and all of the dancing you have to do, if it really could just be about telling the story, doing the work, but you know, but I recognize that's not really the game. So I would have to partner with somebody who really loves that side of things and being on set and doing all the traveling that it would require. Then I would consider it. But I really feel like if I could, it would be more ideal to really have this post service, build that out, and then build this, you know, an animation studio, and sort of work directly with creating content for people. So we'll see, but I can say that both of these conversations were really, to your point, fast paced and thoughtful. And yeah, I felt like I'm on my game this month, just getting everything done. I feel good. My workouts have been going really well. You know, and so I'm really pushing myself to just make sure that we come into the new year strong. And so I think it's happening. But this one was definitely we started the work on this one. You know, this week was the beginning of work on a lot of these different areas that we had been preparing for, and it felt really good to get going.
Great.
Yay.
That's how I feel when I do therapy. that you described it. And that's the feeling I get. You get the clarity. You start going fast, making connections. It feels good.
I guess so.
Okay.
Man.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, real quick, shout out. Jonah Hill did a movie about his therapist, Philip Stutz, that I thought was awesome. I highly recommend people watch it. If anyone has seen it, please shout it out. And Grace, you should definitely check it out. But yeah, I did want to shout
Sure,
that
I'd love it. Cool.
You ready to wrap this one up?
Yes.
Okay. So
we already did the life hack. Right?
Did we?
So,
Actually, you know what I wanted to say as an aside? This is to an earlier point. Is we went to I had a lovely evening at the Stefano Steakhouse, also on Wednesday. And by the way, the philosophy kept going into that dinner. Just so you know, Grace, I couldn't get out of the headspace. It was too good. And we got the porterhouse for two, classic. And for sure, it came out a little bit more rare than I would have liked. And
what did you ask for?
I just said chef's choice because I was like, this is a steakhouse. I'm not going to try to mess with it. But you know, it was like warm in the middle and you know, pretty, not necessarily like that deep, juicy red. It was like almost purple. And I was just like, damn it. I should have just, because I could tell literally, at least the thought popped into my head, Grace. I was like, It's busy. It's pretty busy in here. Cause like, you know, it kept coming out with food at different tables. And I was just like, I should do it. But this is a steakhouse. Let me not. And then of course I was like, damn, man, she was right. So yeah.
This is alluding to a earlier life hack that I gave about steak, or ordering steak at a restaurant, how to order correctly. So go to that episode. Link that episode, I guess.
Yeah.
If you want to see the
short,
hack.
If it's busy, ask for medium, and if it's not, then you can rock the medium rare. That's the short.
Always go one level more cooked if it's busy, because they will rush in the kitchen.
Anything else? So what was the life hack from this week?
I said
let's call them pro tips. What's the pro tip for the week? Yeah.
Pro tip of the week is, so, you know, I did the holiday shopping for the clients, and I didn't want to do one generic thing for everyone because we have pretty different clients. So social media is the answer. LinkedIn is not helpful in this regard. Instagram, and if not, Facebook. Facebook is the site to go to. I found like way back in high school photos
that's so good.
of people. Yeah, it was so interesting. But yeah, it teaches you a lot. You can see if people have dietary restrictions, if they seem to care about food, if they're, you know, foodie, because a lot of people are. And then I gave the foodies like yummy looking chocolate that foodies would appreciate. Or if they have kids, you want to get them gifts with, you know, that the kids could enjoy. So maybe like visually a little more fun. For the ones with kids, I got them, it was like a package of chocolate, like chocolate balls, cookies, and popcorn. It was like called Moose Munch, and it was very kiddie, but I was like, that's good for the kids. Yeah. So yeah, that's the hack.
I definitely think
all of that I gathered from social media.
Okay. You want me to go first?
Yeah.
This is like every week. It like never changes. Okay, Grace.
So hard.
What are you most excited about with your new job title?
New LinkedIn profile. No, just kidding. Imagine just like that. Just LinkedIn status. No. What am I excited about? It's hard to tell because I'm doing everything that I'm doing. Nothing is really changing until it does. And so I'll find out when it changes.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm definitely going to certainly be curious. I'll just say on my end, it feels like, again, it gives me a sense of a bit of clarity of like, okay, this is what the larger plan is. Now we know what kind of things we want to offload and what kind of things we want to push towards as far as like your development and stuff. So I think that was something that made me feel pretty good about it. All right, hit me.
What are you most excited about in January? I don't even know if that's proper grammar.
Well, I hate the winter, so January does not sound fun from a personal standpoint. What I'm excited for, oddly enough, is the theoretical lack of work. So normally, I know.
Taxes.
So normally, we get very busy in the holiday season because we do mostly, ads. And there's a lot of rush to get a lot of budgets done by the end of the year. And then it usually gets kind of dead January through March. Now, obviously, like Snapchat will keep going and stuff like that. But I think that it's going to actually be very nice to hopefully have some resources instead of scrambling each week to get freelancers in and all this and that. I think it might be nice for the editors to be like, so what am I doing today? And we're like, wow, we can like figure that out, actually. So, I think actually I'm looking forward to hopefully being able to work on us. Like new interns are coming in, we have new hires starting. And so it's like very much a time where I hope that we can get our feet under us before inevitably things start to get crazy again. That's my wish.
Cool.
I'm not going to complain if the work comes though, I guess we'll leave it at that. So only 2 more weeks left in the year, guys. We have enjoyed doing this for the past few months. We're never going to stop. So, hopefully you'll be, if you're new watching this in a few years, when we're on episode 1,000 or something, hopefully we can get a kick out of it. And hopefully next week you'll know what we sang and you can dig up the video on the internet. As always, work hard, be nice, and keep changing. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We are out. Later.